If you do anything with embedded, be it for work or just as a hobby, you might have had a similar situation. You're working with a sensor and need to plot out the readings. Well, that's easy, just use the Arduino IDE plotter. But if you're using a ESP chip, you might need to decode a backtrace when an exception occurs. In that case, you might need to use the IDF monitor, which does that automatically. But then you don't have the plot, so you need to be jumping from one tool to another. Now let's say that on top of that, you need to save all the data to analyze it after the fact. Well, easy again, right? Just leave the terminal open during the whole test, and then copy the content from the terminal to a file. But what if you close it by mistake, or it closes itself due to a bug? That may seem like an exaggerated situation, but I've had to deal with that problem quite a few times. Having the ability to save the data from the serial port to a file would be really useful in this case. But then you need a third tool. Maybe you think that switching around 3 tools isn't really a problem, that's pretty normal. But what if I tell you I made a free, completely open source tool that has all these features and much more? After messing around with embedded hardware for 4 years, both as a hobby and for work, I got annoyed at the fact that I needed to be switching around from one tool to another just because I needed a different feature. So I decided to make my own version, which culminated in the version I released at the end of 2022. And since then, I've been improving it by finding the issues and fixing them, and adding even more useful features to it. And with the most recent version, v1.0.2, I think it's really useful for anyone that works with embedded, be it for your work or as a hobby. And possibly substituting all other tools for the job. Okay, but what are the features that this tool has? Well, let's start by the basic features. Being a serial monitor, it can connect to any serial port as with other monitors, and gives you all the configuration options you might want for this connection. Beyond that, you can configure a log of the data received on the serial port, so if you need to have that data to analyze it after the fact, you don't need to worry about the program closing and losing all the data received. It also includes a feature to search for a specific thing you've received. When there's a lot of data, it can be a real helping hand, and something that I hadn't really found on any other serial monitor. And if you work with JSON, it also includes a parser for making the JSON data be easier to read in case it is minimized, helping a lot in analyzing the received data. What about the more advanced features? As I mentioned before, the program includes a backtrace decoder for the ESP microcontroller's exceptions, which is really simple to use and gives out the results decoded and organized on the sidebar, so that you can check the whole history of exceptions. And if you need to decode an exception that didn't come from the serial port, it also includes a window for decoding it manually. The graphs feature is also extremely essential for working with sensors and easily visualizing the readings, and the way it's implemented, it's really easy for you to configure a tracking, unlike the Arduino plotter that imposes a series of limitations. The packet sequencer can be really helpful for anyone that works with devices that use AT commands for communications, where you might need to send a specific sequence of commands at a specific timing. Having this feature allows you to test any sequence without needing to do it manually or implementing it on a microcontroller. And it also helps anyone that doesn't use AT commands but needs to send a specific sequence. And the last feature, at least for now, is the ability to make your own custom parsers that can receive data based on a trigger you configure and do any processing on that data. This is one of the features I use the most in my daily job, since I can make additional tools without having to develop a whole program from the ground up, almost like just making a plugin, but a little simpler. I want to reinforce that the program is completely free and open source, so if you found it marginally interesting, there's no risk in trying it out. and I'll leave the link in the description. And also in the link there will be a detailed explanation of how to use the program. But if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments and I'll try to answer them as fast as possible. In the future, I want to add even more features, like more built-in parsers, such as Modbus RTU, and expand even more the already built-in parsers. I also want to add even more connection options, such as RTT, which would be really useful when working with microprocessors that are programmed via J-Link. Another feature I'm considering adding is Y-modem file upload that someone suggested to me that would be really useful for having this kind of tool, since the other tool that has that is Teraterm. And since it's really similar, I'll implement X and Z modem as well. And if you have any feature that you think could be useful, just put it in the comments and I'll see if I can implement it in the future. Remember, the goal is to make this the most complete serial monitor in the market, even if that takes quite a while. During the year, I want to make videos explaining all the little details of how the program works. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. And if you like the video and the project, just leave a like on the video, because that really helps me a lot. That's all for now, and until the next video.